What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be bleeding the brakes as well as doing a full flush, and we are also going to be doing a clutch flush too, transmission, which is down in here. I'll show you guys that in a little bit with some better light. First things first, just because I have 4 jack stands and a low profile jack, you are going to want to jack up your car on, let's see if I can get a good view here, on this seam right here. It's where 2 metal welds are. You guys are going to want to take your jack and put it on this metal seam here when you jack it up. So I'm going to put it inside of here when I jack it up, and I'll show you guys how that looks in just a minute. Just a quick side note for you all. If you guys do not have 4 jack stands like I do and an impact gun, you are going to need to break your lug nuts loose first with a torque wrench or a ratchet before you put them up on the jacks. But since I have a impact gun, I'm just going to be able to impact the lugs off. Just don't use the impact to put them back on. You are going to need to use a torque wrench to put those back on. So the backs are all jacked up. Now time to do the fronts. I'm going to show you where I jacked up the back and then put the jack stands on the back of the car. So for this one, since I have one of the, if you see on the jack, I have a seam, one of the seam rubber pads to jack up on the seams of the car. So if you look under here, the jack stand is sitting on this seam right here. It's metal, and I jacked it up a little bit further back. So I just basically went from, I don't know if you guys can see this, from over here where I have the jack stand, I just jacked it up back here. Basically a little bit on this plastic piece right here, but it's metal right there, so the plastic is okay. And then I just put the jack stand over here. I have to jack it up further back because I can't fit the jack stands in with how wide the jack is. So now we're going to do the fronts, and I'm going to show you the points on where to jack those up. So I've got the fronts on the jacks now. Now it's time to show you where I jack them up. So for this one, on my Focus, if you see here, this plastic piece here, you're going to want to put the jack right there because there's a welded seam right underneath of it, and then you can stick the jack right there, right in front of it. And that's where you're going to want to jack up both front sides, left and right. Up, once you guys have removed your lugs off your fronts and your rears back there, you guys are going to need to take off your front cowl. The reason why you have to take off your front cowl is that the brake reservoir sits back in here, and unfortunately I don't have anything that will feed into there. You don't have to take it off all the way, you just have to be able to lift it up enough to where you can fill the new fluid with a funnel. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So I forgot to mention, but it may be a good idea to take off your tires and spray your bleeder valves with some penetrating oil. I have Corrosion X right here, which I'll spray a little bit of on there, and it'll help to be able to loosen these valves up when you go to bleed them. And then I'll go on to the next steps. So you just want to come in here, and there's usually a little rubber cap on them, as you've seen right here. You just pull it off, and you're going to want to spray this bolt down here with a little bit of penetrating oil. First step in removing your front cowl to get to your brake reservoir is going to be removing these T27 Torx bit screws. All the tools that I'm using are going to be linked in the description. After you remove those, you have one on the right side and you have another one on the left side over here. Once you remove those, the next thing you are going to have to do is remove, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can get in there. Is remove these clips. I have already removed them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 of them, and they look like this. Let's see if you can see that. And they're little push pin clips. The center pushes out. So if you guys just want to take a flathead screwdriver and wedge it in this part right here, this little, let's see if I can see it right there, this part right here, and hold it with your finger and pop it out. They will pop out super easy if you do it like that. Do not get under here like with a flathead screwdriver and try to pop them out without the center being popped out. They will break. The next step, once you have your screws and your plastic clips removed, is you guys are going to have to pop your little vent up right here if I can get it. There it goes. Pop it up right there, set it out of the way, and you guys are going to need to remove only these ones. These screws, let me get some good, those ones right there, they are at 10 millimeters. So you just have to remove, there's one over here, and then there is another one in this vent. Pop this one up, and there's another one right there, and I'll show you guys what to do after that. So as you can see, my screw over here, the 10 millimeter, and this bolt over here, they're both bolts, not screws, have been removed. Now, I didn't want to take off the full cowl. If you want to take off the full cowl, you have to take off your windshield wipers, which you just pull this cap here. Let's see if I can get it. And then you take that bolt off and they will wiggle off. But for me, it is just easiest if I am just able to pop the cowl up like this to access your reservoir. It's just going to sit like that. And now you should be able to easily get a funnel in there and pour in your new fluid and do your brake flush. So once you guys have removed all of your tires, you've taken your lug nuts off, you've removed the cowl, the next thing you guys are going to want to do is turkey baste out the old brake fluid that's in here and put it into an extra jar like you see down there, and then replace it with the new brake fluid. Once you do that, you are ready to bleed your brakes. Don't forget to keep checking after every tire to refill up the brake fluid, because if it runs low, it causes a really big problem when you get extra air in the system. One more thing to note, guys, when you are bleeding your brakes manually and you have somebody in the driver's side pumping them, you want to make sure you leave the nut on the brake tight first. You're going to want to have him or her pump it up till it's tight. Let them know when it's tight. They're going to want to hold it, and then you're then going to want to crack the nut in here. They're going to say, okay, it's open, and while he's still holding it, the brake should go to the floor. And once he or she says floor, you're going to want to close it. And you're just going to want to repeat that process. You're going to have them pump them back up and then hold it. And then you're going to want to open the valve. And then as soon as it hits the floor, you're going to want to close it and pump it up again. And make sure, I know I said do it every once a wheel. I'm going to add a side note in there that you need to be checking halfway through your wheel sometimes. I almost ran out of fluid, and it would have been such a major problem because you would have had so much extra air in your system. So once you guys have bled all your brakes and you've done everything, the next thing you guys are going to want to do is put everything back together. So first things first, starting with the cowl, you're going to want to adjust it back down in there. You're going to want to put your 2 screws in here, and then you're going to want to do your clips and then your other bolts right here. Once you guys have all of that, you guys will be good to put the tires back on, and your brakes should be bled. Alright guys, so as you can see, I've installed my screws that are here, and then my other plastic clips, my 4 plastic clips, and then I put the bolts in there. And that is all you have to do to reinstall your cowl. And the last thing is to put your tires back on and go test your brakes. But that is it for the video today, guys. By the way, your tires, to torque them down, if you have a Focus ST for 2015, it's 100 foot-pounds, so grab your torque wrench and your 19mm socket and torque them down to 100 foot-pounds, and then you guys will be good. Thank you for watching today's video.